You unlock your phone, open your banking app, and check your balance. Then you close it. Then 20 minutes later, you open it again, and again before lunch, and again on the way home. You probably know exactly how much money you have at any given moment, down to the dollar. Nothing has changed since the last time you checked, and you knew it wouldn't, but you checked anyway. If this sounds like you, this video is for you. Because what looks like financial responsibility from the outside is often something very different on the inside, and once you understand what's actually happening, the whole pattern starts to make sense. Let's start with what's not happening. You're not being careful, you're not staying on top of your finances in a meaningful way, you're not preventing fraud or catching errors. You'd notice those things just as well checking once a day, or even once a week. What you're actually doing is something completely different. You're using your bank balance to regulate your emotions. Every time you check, you're not really looking for new information. You're looking for permission to feel calm for a few minutes, and the moment that feeling fades, you check again. This is what psychologists call money vigilance, and it's more common than people realize. A 2025 national survey found that 87% of Americans reported feeling anxious about their finances, and 70% of them experienced that anxiety more than once a week. This isn't a personal failing, it's a quiet epidemic, so why is checking the bank account so addictive? Why does this specific behavior become a compulsion? 3 things are happening at once. The first is the illusion of control. Money is one of the few things in life that has a number attached to it. You can see exactly where you stand. You can't do that with your relationships, your career, your health, or any of the other things that actually matter. So when something else feels uncertain, your brain reaches for the thing that has a number. Checking your balance gives you a momentary sense that at least one thing is under your control, even though, in reality, your balance was going to be exactly what it is, whether you looked or not. That's the first piece, the illusion of control. The second is something deeper, and it's harder to admit. For most people who do this, the behavior didn't start in adulthood. It started in a household where money felt unsafe. Maybe you watched your parents argue about money. Maybe you saw bills opened with a sigh. Maybe a parent said the words, "we can't afford it," in a way that meant more than just no. Maybe a sudden financial event, like a job loss, upended your stability. Or maybe nothing dramatic happened. There was just a constant low hum of financial anxiety in the air. Whatever it was, you absorbed a story about money, that money is the thing standing between you and something terrible, and that watching it carefully was a way of keeping the terrible thing at bay. You don't remember deciding to think this way. You just absorbed it, the way kids absorb everything, and now, decades later, your nervous system still thinks checking your balance is a survival skill, even when, by every measurable standard, you are completely fine. That's the second piece, the childhood story. The third piece is the reward loop in your brain. Every time you check your balance and nothing's wrong, your brain releases a tiny hit of relief. That relief is its own reward, and like all rewards, your brain wants more, so you check again. Get another hit of relief. Check again. This is the same brain pattern as checking a notification, refreshing a feed, or pulling a slot machine handle. It's not financial behavior. It's compulsion behavior, with money as the surface. That's the third piece, the neural feedback loop that keeps the cycle going. Now here's where it gets interesting. Money vigilance isn't all bad. In moderate amounts, it actually correlates with better financial outcomes. People who pay attention to their money tend to have less debt, save more consistently, and avoid impulse decisions. That's the upside. The problem is when vigilance turns into something more compulsive, and the line is closer than most people think. There's a quiet test you can run on yourself. Ask yourself, when I check my balance, do I feel less anxious afterward or more anxious? If you feel more anxious afterward, even slightly, the checking isn't helping you. It's adding to the problem it's trying to solve, and here's the cruel irony. Compulsive checking actually makes it harder to make good financial decisions. When you're constantly in a low-grade panic about your money, you can't think strategically. You can only react, and reactive money decisions are almost always worse than thoughtful ones, so the very thing you're doing to feel safer is making you less safe. So what do you do about it? This is where I have to be honest with you. You can't think your way out of money vigilance. It's not an intellectual problem, it's a nervous system problem. And nervous system problems require nervous system solutions. Here are 4 things that actually help. First, set a checking schedule. Once in the morning, once in the evening, and that's it. You're not banning the behavior, you're containing it. Every time you feel the urge between those times, notice it. Don't act on it. This alone reduces the urge within a few weeks. Second, automate as much as possible. Bills paid automatically. savings transferred automatically, investments contributed automatically. The less you have to actively manage, the less your brain has to monitor. Third, give your brain something else to monitor. This sounds silly, but it works. The compulsion isn't really about money. It's about the need to monitor something, so redirect that energy towards something that actually rewards attention. A garden, a fitness habit, a creative project, even a slow-growing skill. Anything where consistent attention produces visible change. Your brain wants to feel like its watching is paying off. Give it a place where that's actually true. Fourth, and this one is the hardest, address the original story. The compulsion almost always traces back to a feeling you had as a child, about money. That feeling is still in there, and it's still running the show, even if you don't realize it. You don't have to relive your childhood to address this. You just have to recognize that the part of you that's checking the balance is younger than you are. It's not a flaw. It's a part of you that learned to cope this way a long time ago, and you can thank that part for trying to keep you safe. Then let it know that you're an adult now, and you've got this. This kind of inner work sounds soft, but it's what actually shifts the behavior. Talking to a therapist or financial therapist can help, especially if the anxiety is severe. There's no shame in needing support to unwind a pattern that took decades to form. Here's what I want you to take away from this video. If you check your bank balance 5 times a day, you're not broken. You're not financially obsessive in a bad way. You're someone whose nervous system is running an old program. And programs can be updated. The first step is just noticing what's actually happening when you reach for that phone. You're not checking your balance. You're trying to feel safe, and once you know that, you can start to find that safety in other ways. If this video felt like someone was reading your mind, you're not alone. Until then, the next time you reach for your phone, take a breath first. You might find that you don't actually need to check. Comment below. How many times a day do you check your bank balance? Be honest. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We're going to keep unpacking the patterns hiding underneath your money behavior on this channel.